Hey friends, how are you? Happy Friday, July 26th to be exact. I wanted to do this video to give some advice and to new drivers coming into Prime, new students coming into Prime, and also to give some advice to potential new CDL trainers, instructors, TNT trainers. A little learn from my error, if you will. So this advice for new students coming into training is some of you will experience a pay increase based on Prime's guarantee, right, of $800 a week. That's probably a lot more than some of you are currently making in a week. Now, from that $800, you do have to take out any taxes for your state. If you choose to have health benefits, that will come out. So you can expect, $500-600 a week after your deductions. With that money, you have to be prepared to live on the road. Now, there are things that different trainers will do, not to so much support you, but to thank you for doing a good job here and there, right? There's different incentives. I know I do my own thing. When you go out on TNT and you become privy to the trainer's pay per load, because either they share it with you or you happen to see it one way or the other, you have to be very careful not to become entitled. So the trainer is paying you through Prime for the work that you're doing on a weekly basis. They're also covering your health benefits if you choose that. They're also covering your workman's comp. There's a lot of things that the trainer covers that you don't know for you, right? So the trainer, then, if they're a lease operator, they have a whole slew of additional things they have to pay for. Like, I have an entire page of deductions everywhere from, fueling the tractor to fueling the reefer to highway tax to, paying for operating statements, paying for settlement paperwork, paying for the use of, the pre-pass and the easy pass. And I could go on and on and on. So you may see an amount that's paid for a load and get all googly eyes like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money, I can't wait. And that could be true at times. But there's a lot of things that are taken from that, right? The other thing is you could become, let's say, agitated because you see what loads are paying and you feel like you're only getting paid $800 a week. And let me remind you that you're in training. You're in training. You're not entitled to make what that lease operator makes or that trainer makes. You're not there yet. So you need to keep, I say this delicately, but you need to keep your attitude in check and your expectations in check, or you'll be sorely disappointed. Now, when it comes time for you to get on your own truck, you can make a myriad of decisions from, if you want to go company or if you want to go lease, if you want a team, If you want to stay on your truck or your trainer's truck longer, if you get your own truck and your lease operator, where to fuel. I mean, fuel is a big expense. It's even a greater expense sometimes to trainers because they have students that are learning how to use the throttle and the brake. So that would be my advice to students is be prepared to make $800 and then your deductions are taken from that. Expect nothing more. If something more comes of that, great. But don't expect it. All right? The second piece of this is sort of a learn from my error. And this speaks directly to trainers. The advice I had just given to the student sort of carries over into this, and that is not sharing what the load pays on every trip too early in TNT training, or even if at all. I know some trainers don't share it at all. And the reason I say this is because the students in TNT do not have an understanding what's involved in that pay. They automatically assume that is what you pocket for every load, and it gives them sort of a false idea of what you're taking home. And secondly, it starts to cause a rift, or it can cause a rift between the trainer and the student, because the student thinks that they should make more based on the amount of money that they're seeing the loads pay. I've made that mistake. And I've talked to other people on the driver advisory board when I was there for my meetings in Springfield, and I explained that, I always let students, now granted I've only had 2 students, but I let the students see the load pay, and I talk about it on YouTube, and they're like, don't do it, because they don't understand, and they will soon develop animosity towards you because they see what you're making and what they're getting paid, and they feel like they can feel like they're being used for just driving. So sadly, I will not be sharing any more sort of settlement or pay data. And because the reason why is because I work really hard to keep my expenses low on the truck. And if someone doesn't do the same, they may think that they can, make what I'm making. I don't like to sit. And if someone does, they think that they can make what I'm making. If someone goes home every month and I stay out for 3 months, they think they can make what I'm making. So I'm not, unfortunately, going to share financial data anymore, because I think that, unless you're comparing apples to apples, it's meaningless, and it can set up the new student for failure, and I don't want to do that. So when the time is right at the end of TNT, I will likely walk them through a settlement, so they can understand all of the deductions that come out, and how much I actually pay for them, which is far more than $800 a week. Far more. Even if that's their gross $800, I pay far more than that if they have health benefits and other things. So and I might say, let me put this in there too, that this is in no way directed at any of my students, previous students. Let me just say that. It's just something that I'm gonna change up because people just aren't you're so new to the game, so new to the industry, that you can't possibly understand that there's more behind the scenes. So this may be good news to some, this may be bad news to some, but unfortunately I think it's the right thing to do, given given the comments that I see, the feedback, and there's a constant strife over company versus lease, and I don't want to be a part of that conversation. I just don't. I think it's a very personal decision to make, and I don't want to influence anyone over which route to take. All I can say is that I'm happy with the decision that I made because I know who I am and I know how to run my truck, and it works for me. And that's all I can say, is it works for me. So that's what I got. A little advice for students and a little advice for new trainers, learn from my error, that sort of thing. Sorry guys, it's like almost 100 degrees here in Texas, so waiting to get loaded. Or waiting to actually have my load ready so I can go pick it up. But that's what I got. We'll go from there.